So Robert, you are an Ironman, and here we go, the shining star Laura. You are an Ironman. Gary, you're an Ironman.
Hi, welcome to Ironman Portugal Race Review. Gaz and I completed Ironman Portugal yesterday. Ironman Cascais. It was touch and go.
It's a good medal.
It is a very good medal. It was touch and go. At points when I thought I was just ready to DNF, but we'll get to that. It raced with lots of lessons, we'll say. Didn't go as smoothly as maybe other races, but that's Ironman racing, and I think that, like, it's just, this is probably going off on a tangent as always, but it's just become so normalised to, if you do triathlon, oh, you just go and do an Ironman, when in reality, like, there are so many different elements and things that can go wrong in an Ironman.
Very hard.
It's just hard, and it's not simply a case of, oh, if you've trained you can do an Ironman. There's so much more to it, and yeah, I guess that was, I always knew that, but I guess that became really clear yesterday.
It's tough. It's a tough day out. Ironman, I've not done Ironman in a while, and I forgot how brutal it is. It's good, like, it's a nice brutality. Should we say that?
It wasn't yesterday in the moment.
Well, it wasn't in the moment.
We'll start from the beginning. It was a nice, really nice morning, wasn't it? Like,
It was great. Like, the sun was
sunrise.
rising over the bay.
Yeah.
Like, 70.3 lot were going off.
Yeah.
You're in a small town, so it was like packed.
Oh, it was absolutely packed.
Like all the way up the road as well.
We thought we'd left enough time, and it did feel quite rushed that last bit.
I don't know, I thought it was a good time because we were still stood there for ages.
I thought, yeah, we were stood there for
I
ages.
think everyone was rushing.
Obviously, yeah, Ironman want to get you. They want to get you into the pens. They're very slick and efficient. So we were in transition at like
7:45.
Was it 7:45? And they were closing transition at 8. We didn't start till 8:30, so we had plenty of time. But Ironman is like, right, you should be in your starting pens now at like 10 to 8. So then they just make you a bit stressed, and that's obviously what, like, they're gonna do, just to make sure you'll start on time and everything's done. Got into the first start pen, the 60 minute swim pen. All was fine. Waited for the 70.3 lot to go. It was nice to sort of see them in, because when you do a 70.3 or when you do an Ironman, I guess because we start at the front of the race, you don't really see the people at the back of the race, and that's where a lot of like the first timers are.
Yeah,
so
they were loving it.
When we were coming to line up behind the 70.3ers, you could see so many nervous people. You could just like see it in their faces, couldn't they? And I was like clapping to some women. They were like, "Come on!" And it was just a really nice atmosphere being around those athletes who maybe are a bit less experienced, and it like means so much to them just getting around
doing it for the experience. I like seeing the age groupers that were actually just there because they put it as a challenge, or they're, I don't know, maybe doing it for charity, or they're just like there to enjoy the experience. Like, they're all just laughing and like clapping the fans, and
yeah, it was lovely.
And then because we were stood in the first group of the Ironman lot, everyone's so serious in that pen. Yeah. So it was like two conflicting
people like
things.
rushing to, obviously, you know, you want to get, if you're in that first pen, well, if you're in that first pen, you're in that first pen, but people were like, as soon as the gate opened, were running to the front of the pen. And I guess, you know, if they're like the guy who won it, a 47-minute swimmer or whatever, 45-minute swimmer, you know, fair enough, you need to be at the front. You don't want to be swimming over people. But obviously with a 70.3 in front of you, and naturally you're going to catch some of the slower athletes up, so I'm sure he's probably caught up with a few of them. But anyway, the whole start of we were stood next to each other in like the two starting lanes, which was really nice. I turned round at one point, there was a man like in the like lane next to me, this like grown man, maybe like 50 or something, with tears in his eyes, and I looked away, and I just like, I had my goggles on, I started to well up. It's that whole emotion that never changes, does it? No. Like as many Ironmans that you've done.
I don't think anywhere in the world does a start like an Ironman event. Like when Paul Kay's on the microphone, like talking about like the world being like so diverse, and how this sport brings everyone together, and then Thunderstruck's like iconic with it, and then he's got like the script playing, and he's giving it like a big talk,
and like what you've overcome in the training, and like your family that have supported you, and all that.
And everyone's
sort
clapping,
of stuff.
And it's just like I'm I'm not an emotional person, but
He's
like
emotionally dead.
I really, there's nothing that gets me going like an Ironman start line. I just stand there thinking, feeling like you can feel like every word, and he's, I mean, he's so good at speaking anyway. Like just from the point of like taking a pause, and you just sat there thinking about that sentence, and he says it again, and you're like, oh my god. So like when you stood on the beach, the sun's coming up,
it's just magical.
Everyone's going in. And that's why you pay the money for Ironman, I think, is just everything's closed, the fans are there, and yeah, it was an incredible start, I thought.
Yeah, me too. Luckily, we were in 2 separate lanes, but we got to the start line at the same time, so we literally started at exactly the same time, which was nice. As with any sea swim, obviously my fear is always jellyfish, and lo and behold, 10 strokes in, hand went in straight onto a jellyfish, and oh, I screamed under the water. It was disgusting. Like I mean, luckily I didn't touch the tentacles. I didn't get stung. I don't feel like I got stung anywhere. But it was just the colour of this jellyfish, and like, I'm not being dramatic. The top of it was like this like football. It was massive. And yeah, luckily my hand just sort of like felt. It was disgusting. It's making me shiver thinking about it. It was like browny yellow. It was just ugly. And that. Right then, I was like, is this how this whole swim's going to be? I'm literally not even 100 metres in, and I've already seen, there was 2 jellyfish just right next to each other. There was probably a pack of them there, but I was like, is this how this whole swim's going to go? And that was the first thing. I was like, fuck this. Don't want to do it.
No.
I'm out. It took me about 1,500 metres to get settled into my stroke. I don't know about you.
I even when I used to swim a lot, I would always stay so far out of the pack that I just didn't really see anyone, because I'd much rather swim like 4K and not have. I don't know if everyone wants to draft, but I just prefer to have my own space and just do my own thing. Like that first 400-500 meters was maybe a little bit hectic.
It was pretty smooth. Like there wasn't loads of waves, but with the sea in Portugal, it's like
rolling.
It's kind of just like, well, your dad said it was swells.
Swell, that's it. Yeah, swell.
Like because it's good for like surfing stuff. So it wasn't like choppy everywhere that you don't know where the next wave's coming from. Just every so often, you kind of feel yourself get dragged and then dragged across again.
Yeah.
And then maybe be a series of a couple of those, and then it would calm down a bit. But one thing I did notice, and again, this is, I get in my head when I'm swimming. You get in your head throughout the whole of the race because it's just you on your own in your own mind. But I was very much aware that there wasn't very many safety boats about, and like, not that I need a safety boat, but you never know. And there just wasn't any. And I found in Copenhagen there was like almost overkill with people on paddle boards. There was so many safety boats, and there just wasn't. And that really got in my head. And then occasionally one of the safety boats, like in a bloody speedboat, just shot down the middle of the course, and then that like, gave you loads of waves as well. So I think on the way out we were kind of swimming into the current. My watch beeps at me every 500 yards as well, and like the first one was like 8:24, and it was 8:39, another 8:39. I was like, fucking hell, I'm not swimming well here. Like for my standards, obviously that's fine. Didn't think I was swimming well. Did the turn, and then that's when I kind of felt like I got into my stroke, and also it had just calmed down a bit. It wasn't as frantic. And I found myself then swimming next to this man who, you know, when you can just tell someone is a good swimmer, like he was just so calm and his stroke was perfect, and so just, he wasn't kicking his legs, he was just letting them drag and he was just flying. So I sat next to him and we were just swimming like this, and I trusted in him that he was sighting, so I just sat next to him. And then on the way back in, one of my 500 metres ticked over at like 7:19, and then another at like 7:20. So I thought I'm swimming fast on the way back, so there must have been a bit of a...
Yeah, because mine picked up as well.
Yeah, so there must have been a bit of a push back in. And as soon as you get to the ramp, you're out of the water and you're straight to a big climb. You've got it on yours, the transition is
it's a K, yeah, just over 1K. I think if anyone's done Ironman Tembe, it's similar to that. Maybe not as steep up out of the ramp, but you have a big like kind of up straight out of the sea, and then it's, in fact it probably is similar because you carry on going all the way up into town and then you drop into the transition.
Yeah, it was a big climb out of the water, and then it was such a long transition. So that was humbling, but I was so happy to get out of the water. I managed an hour and 2 minutes. You did an hour and 14.
Hour and 14.
Which, that's really impressive. I was happy with mine considering like the big open sea. Decided I'm never doing a sea swim again, apart from Kona, apart from Mallorca. I've got them booked. I want to do lakes and rivers, I've decided. And I thought transition went pretty seamless. My dad was like, you both had a really shit transition.
We had I think it was about 8 minutes, so you run...
run a kilometre?
I think it's about 700 metres up, but then you go almost 200 metres round. It's like an amphitheatre track kind of thing. So you run in, so you run 600 metres to it, then it's almost 200 metres round to your bike, then you get your bike and then you go another 200 metres out. So yeah,
it was awful. We always knew the bike was going to be hilly. You do about 10-ish K, flat-ish, and then you're into the climb, and most of the climbing is done in that first sort of 20K.
Yeah, it's like 10K of climbing, I would say.
Yeah.
They said it was 5. I think they said it was 5K. It's definitely like a 10K
climb,
block.
Yeah, initial climb is about 5K, and then you drop down a bit. You do a bit more climbing, drop the climb. There's a few just ups and downs. So I knew that was always going to be a slower
section.
Yeah, first part of the course, and then we knew we could pick it up because then you come down, you do the descent, and then it's literally an out to Lisbon and back. So yeah, we always knew that first bit was going to be a bit slower. I found the first climb absolutely fine. I was just buzzing to be out of the swim and onto the bike, I'm totally honest. And straight onto the bike, started fueling right from, I always have a gel in transition, and then I also had a mini saurine pretty much straight away just to get fuel before going up the climb. And yeah, to be honest, nothing much to report on the first lap.
First lap of it. I think the only thing on the first lap is I was kind of realising that it's a more technical course than people think.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think people have said, because there's a lot of out and back, so you're doing turns on yourself, there's a lot of sharp turns around corners. Even the Formula 1 track, if you overshoot the corners, you'll end up on the gravel. So I've seen a few people doing that.
I did that the first time. So you do, the climb, a bit of a descent, and then you go onto the Formula 1 track. You do a full lap of the Formula 1 track, and I just assumed the Formula 1 track would be flat, but Formula 1 track is not flat. And I came to the first corner, was in my aero, because I was like, this is going to be a nice, fast, smooth bit to do. Completely overshot that corner, and that was the first time I was like, oh my god, I almost came off my bike. So yeah, if you're doing it when you get to the Formula 1 track, just be careful.
Very easy to just get your head down.
Yeah, and in that first lap as well, because you're catching up with the people at the back of the 70.3, so it's quite busy on that first lap, and especially coming in, there was a bit when you come down to the Formula 1 track, there's traffic on one side of the road and we're all on the other side, and so you're trying to pass people, but then people behind you trying to pass you, and 3 people trying to fit on one side of the road, it's all a bit sketchy. So the first lap was a bit more stressful, and you had to have your awareness.
I think make sure that you're riding to your ability is what I would suggest.
We've cycled on worse, and we've cycled on
I thought the roads were okay. I think just coming from UK, I think they felt okay.
But
they're not
it's not Copenhagen or Mallorca. There was some really nice bits, but some bits that, especially as I said, coming to that Formula 1 track, you're on one side of the road, there's manhole cover, there's someone trying to get past you and you're trying to avoid the manhole cover. That was just all a bit sketchy. So that would, and it's a downhill as well. Then you come to the descent, and then it's kind of you sort of cycling towards Lisbon, you do a few lefts and up a hill and out just to make up the distance. You go up and out and back, and then another out and back, and then you're out to Lisbon and back. And I feel like when you've got a tailwind, you don't realise it until you turn and you've got a headwind. So we obviously had a tailwind out into Lisbon, and it didn't feel like we had a tailwind. Turn round and just boom. Headwind.
You're the worst person for spotting if you've got a tailwind anyway.
I've got no idea. I'm it's windy. It's windy.
I could feel it. We were riding, well I was anyway, riding at about 40 kilometres an hour down a road on my drop bars, and I was like, the minute we turn around, this is going to be horrendous, because I know we're coming back up this way because everyone's coming, you can see. So I'd kind of prepared myself mentally, but I don't think you would. The good thing about the out and back, so on that loop, so I kind of knew, I think my mum shouted Laura did 102. Did you do 102 swim?
Yeah.
Yeah, so mum shouted Laura did 102, so I kind of knew I was 15 minutes behind Laura, so then you do a couple of out and backs and you can kind of see each other. So I timed it on my watch, and the first time I seen her
coming into the track.
Coming into the track, yeah. So
I'd done my loop around there.
Yeah, and you were just going out, which is actually weird because it was only a really short bit of road, so it was quite good that I'd seen you there.
Yeah, it was really weird that
maybe 200 metres of road that we passed on.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. So then I timed it. Because I was like, I'd seen the turnaround bit, and I thought, I've pretty much caught you.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realise you had to go around the track.
The whole track, right, okay.
So I was, I think, 8.5 minutes off then, and then when I next seen her on the next out and back, it was 6 minutes, then it was 4 minutes.
Catching me.
Yeah,
it was
then-
nice. So I saw on that first lap, I saw you 3 times.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Which was nice. It was nice, just even like.
Just to look out for someone.
Yeah.
Is more so like.
Just a bit, because as well, like the whole course, especially the second lap. The first lap, not as much because there's so many people on the course. The second lap was so lonely.
Yeah.
Like the support wasn't that great, both on the bike and the run. But we'll get to that in a second.
I don't think many people probably know that it's even going on. So we were biking down towards Lisbon and stuff, and people were like looking, going, "What on earth is going on?"
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just a very lonely day, and that's fine for 90k. When you then like, right, got to go do all that again.
I never really like a 2-lap course.
I thought I did on the first lap. I was like, fine, I can do that again. And then you do like, got to about 100 and, well, gone up the climbing into about 110, 120. I was like, oh God,
Yeah.
got that out and back to do. And because I knew as well it was going to be a headwind on the way back, and the wind had picked up as well, I was like, it's going to be even harder coming back.
Yeah.
So then I got to about 120k and just felt so ill. And was sick on the bike at around 120, and then was just like being sick the first time, and then after that, you know, when you just feel queasy and you just a bit burpy, and then every so often was just like sick a little bit. One time I was sick and this man came past me, it was like, because obviously it had flown back towards him, I was like, sorry. And it was just liquid. It wasn't really like, there was nothing really solid. That I'd had a few solid bars, but like, so that was, yeah, I've never been sick on the bike before, so that was, I don't know what it was. I think either maybe I overfueled slightly, I just took on a bit too much.
Seawater, nerves, like could be anything.
I don't think it was nerves. I didn't feel overly nervous. I think, maybe the seawater, but maybe just overfueling a little bit, and just my stomach was just like enough. So from 120k, from about 140k, I pretty much had nothing. I forced myself to have a gel before we came into the run, so around 170 I forced myself to have a gel then, and that's when I had one more on the run, but that was pretty much after about 170k. For the rest of the day, that's pretty much all I had feeling wise, which isn't good. So yeah, I think my head, and as well, my other thing was I have never felt so uncomfortable on my bike. It was just awful. I need to go back and go to my bike fit guy, and we need to change the front end of my bike. I need to upgrade like the cockpit area, because it's just really uncomfortable. It's like on the canyons you just get the basic like front end of the bike, and where my elbows are, the elbow rest, it's just 2 pads, so there's just so much pressure like on the elbows up through the shoulders. That was like, my shoulders were like quivering because there's just so much like weight. I feel like I need to be sort of sat a bit further forward with my arms, so that's something I need to change. But my seat as well, I need to change that, because I am so cut down there. It's just awful. I'm really, really cut and sore, and it's gross. So I was doing like a minute in the bars, a minute set up, sick on the bike, couldn't keep any nutrition down, was sore, like my back, my shoulder's the most sore thing today out of everything, just from that position. I was really uncomfortable on the bike, and yeah, so that's the bike.
Well, coming in, so we were maybe about 165k, and I was about a minute back from Laura, and I thought, all right, I'll catch her before T2, but actually it's probably good that I didn't catch her before T2.
So I came into T2, I saw my dad there and just started crying. Got off my bike and he was like, come on, finish it, like get into transition, get out on the run. And I got off the bike and my feet were in agony, and I think that's normal, yours were as well. Like I
think carbon shoes nowadays as well.
Well, the bike shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just so like, your feet aren't designed to be sat in hard shoes for that long. Like, took them off and my feet were so sore, so I started crying even more, because I was like, how the hell am I going to run a marathon when my feet are feeling like this? And I know that my feet felt similar in Copenhagen. I know that pain,
it does go.
It does, but it just takes a few minutes.
But when you're in your own head, it's very difficult to process.
Yeah.
A marathon's a long way, and it's hard to process that I've got bad feet and I need to run a marathon now. Yeah. And everyone's watching.
Yeah, everyone's flown all this way to watch us. I parked my bike, went round to...
while you were racking it, I shouted, are you okay? Because I came in a minute, maybe 30 seconds behind Laura, and my dad was like, she's there. And I was going, we've got a full marathon to run now, so chill out.
Yeah, he was like, race to get past her.
So you run up and then you come down with your bikes, and I seen Laura and I shouted, "Are you okay?" And you were crying and just shook your head, and I was like, "Oh no, this is bad." To be fair, like to go back on the bike on the last turnaround at Lisbon, I shouted Laura, and she didn't see me, and I could see she was like white, rosy cheeks, and just looked a little bit flustered, so to speak. And I thought she's either like really trying to not let me get you, or you're in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was obviously in a bad way. So when we came into transition and I shouted, "Are you okay?" and I could see that you were crying, and you
and
just
I
said you've been sick.
I don't know. My head was just down. My head was completely down. I have never felt like that coming in from a bike. Just like I was just really doubting myself, and was like, how am I going to get through this run? Like I can't keep any food down. My feet are sore, and just that was the first time in a race that I've ever thought, like, you know what, I'm just gonna DNF. I was on the bike. I was like, you know what, I could do with a puncher right now. Like I wouldn't mind. Obviously, I would like today, but like it was the first time. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, and I've never felt that before. And yeah, I guess that's as we said, it's the reality of racing. Like you're not going to go and have a perfect race every time, and you learn from these races as well. But yeah, anyway, so went down to the transition bags. I got my stuff out of transition bags, and then my mum's got a video. I'll probably put it in the previous video of me walking around to Garth. He's like there, and I just like put my head onto his chest and just cry. I just, oh God, he was like, right, we'll do it together. Come on, let's get around this marathon together.
Yeah.
So that was nice, knowing that there was no pressure. Like we weren't in it for a time. We weren't in it to, get a placing. It was literally like the job, just get the job done, just finish, because at that point, even getting through 10K, let alone the marathon, felt like an impossible task.
Yeah.
So we came out of transition and just started jogging it together, didn't we? You were cramped, Gaz. You got better as you went along.
Yeah, I think I always knew, even coming off the bike, I knew that the first 2K was going to be probably slightly slower while I cramped, and then I could get into it. But I was just waiting to get my salt sticks. Once I had them, I'd be fine. It would take a certain kind of person to just see your partner crying and being hysterical and be like, "See you later on, I'm going to go and do this time." So, yeah, I felt as good as you're going to feel coming off a Ironman bike. I didn't feel great, but I know that first 2-3K, you never do feel great, and then I can pick it up. So it was nice to run out together and just go, right, well, let's just chat and run around it, get around it, get the medal.
And but also when you again think about it and just like look at the bigger picture, like we just jogged a marathon together, chatting the whole way. Like to even be able to do that, and we did a 4.5-hour marathon. Like, yes, I ran a 3.5-hour in Copenhagen, and yes, we can do far quicker than that. But like to be able to even do that is just impressive. And I think a bit of perspective is really important, because, like as I said before, you can just get in your head. Like you see everyone on social media, like, what time did you get in your Ironman? Like all of this, and like yes, there's a time and place to chase a time, 100%. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't doing that in Copenhagen. Of course I was, but like it. Also, a bit of perspective is that we got round.
That's a number one goal.
Ironman. Number one goal to get the medal. We set off, and you come out of transition. The first bit is a bit of an uphill. The course is probably about 300 odd meters of elevation.
It's a hilly run.
It's a hilly run, and it's. Well, most of the hills are sort of in town. There's a lot of like short shops up and downs. But then on the way out, first you come out of transition, you're straight out on the coast road, and you run out for about 5-6K.
Yeah, maybe
5.5-6K. Run all the way out, and obviously you're in town again. Loads of support. You run out. There's just nothing. There's like the odd person there, but it's just dead. And it was busy on the first lap. Lots of people around, and just got quieter and quieter. Obviously, laps went on. The first hour we did 11K, and we were like, cool, like this pace is fine. Like if we can hold around this, we'll be, comes up for that. The goal kept changing every so often, and then we were kind of like, right, stop looking at time, it doesn't matter. But what we planned to do from the start was walk every aid station, didn't we?
Yeah.
So walk through the aid stations, fuel, hydrate, and then run between the aid stations. And they were like a 1.5K between each one, something like that. So that was the plan from the off. And yeah, I've never, and I think as well, I was happy to run it with Gaz, because had I walked on the marathon when I was on my own, that would have again really got in my head and been really disappointed at myself, because I've never walked an Ironman, half Ironman race. I would have been really disappointed when actually it's perfectly okay to walk bits of the Ironman run, because like it's a long way.
It is a long way, and you got to like, if people. I said to Laura, like, it's about just getting round now. So if it means we walk 200 metres, run 800 metres,
yeah, that's what we did for a little bit as well. There was a couple, like the final lap. We were coming out to go and do the final lap, and you can see it on our timer on the Ironman app. It's like 27.5K. We were going to go out and do the third lap, and I just broke down, didn't I? And it was right in the centre of town. I just couldn't stop myself from crying, and I was trying to run, but you know when you're crying and you can't breathe. So I was like, I can't breathe, but I need to run. But I was just crying. It was just awful.
So I was like, just stop.
It was, yeah, you like just stopped. So we walked. We were walking the bloody photographer.
It was right in front of the cameraman as well.
There's me crying, Gaz with his arm around me, and people like, come on, you can do it. And I felt like such a, I don't know, people like really trying to egg me on. I was like, I feel like such a failure.
I don't know if people thought I was just like a creep, because they wouldn't have known that me and you were together. So everyone would have been like, who's the weird guy who just keeps hugging this girl?
This crying girl.
Stopping this girl crying.
And yeah, then when we started running, I was like, yeah. I felt like such a gimp, but I just the emotions, like I just couldn't hold it back.
No, it's hard to regulate them anyway.
Yeah, I just felt horrendous. There was just a mix of like, don't want to do this, but I want to complete it. I feel like a failure, but I'm proud of myself. Like all of these emotions, just all in one. I just couldn't stop crying. So anyway, one lap to go, and it was going dark. So the final lap on the way out, we saw the sunset, which was really beautiful. And I think at that point we were both kind of just like delusional. Yeah,
it was just getting to a point where you just needed to finish, really.
Yeah.
It was because it was dark, because you can't really see stuff, and you're just staring at the floor because you think, I don't want to run into a pothole or anything like that.
Yeah.
You start to feel really sick as well.
Yeah, that's not a nice feeling. I think if you're someone who the race is maybe starting a bit later and you're going to finish in the dark, definitely take the people with head torches.
Like a head torch, yeah, and definitely like
a
windproof thing, because it started to get quite cold, because you've been pouring water on you and stuff during the heat, because it was hot in the day.
And because also you're not running fast at that point.
No.
We were like jogging a little bit at like a 7-minute pace, and then we were walking a bit, like you freeze it. I don't know, I couldn't take on any more nutrition on that run, so I fueled my whole marathon on 2 gels in the first half marathon, and then like sweets when I could, like the odd, like they had like crackers and crisps, and I'd take the odd cracker and try and chew through it. Water and electrolytes. So like I did a marathon off water basically, and that's ridiculous. But I just couldn't take any more nutrition, and that's just the reality of sometimes you just can't, and then you can only do what you can do because your body is literally running on nothing.
Exactly.
And I'd said, so obviously we've been carving up all week, and like it got to the day before the race, I was like, I feel fat, I feel gross, like I can't wait to feel depleted. And then yesterday on the course, I'm like, well, got what I wished for, I'm depleted, I feel like shit.
Yeah, it is.
It was just, I don't know. It's hard. Basically, it's hard.
Ironman's hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's like people.
And you can have a really great day where everything goes perfectly. They don't happen. Like that was my day in Copenhagen the other 2 months ago, and that's amazing. But reality is, it's not always going to go like
Isn't
that.
Always. No, a lot of luck comes down to it as well.
Definitely, this was always going to be a big ask. Like I did Copenhagen, practically like bang on 2 months ago, August, September, October. Yeah, 2 months ago. So I spent 3 weeks recovering. We had a couple of weeks training. My body was just not in a great place, and then went and did this. It was a big ask to my body, and it's been a lesson that I next season will only be doing one Ironman. Like it's ridiculous to put your body through doing 2 Ironmans in one season, unless like one's at the very beginning and one's at the very end. But like mentally, I didn't feel as in it yesterday. I don't think. My head dropped a lot easier than maybe it would have done, and my body was just like, absolutely not. Like I remember at one point, it was the last 2K, and in my head in an Ironman, the last 2K don't count, because like you're so excited to get to the finish line, the crowd's amazing, and we started running. I was like, no, I can't run. I physically cannot run. I just couldn't do it. And my body wouldn't move in that way. And anytime we started running, I was like, I'm just going to be sick. But there's nothing to be sick. So, when you're just like gagging.
So we walked the last 2K.
What last 2K?
I was just like, let's just enjoy it and soak it up and
exactly, and we did.
For what it is.
And we did. So we got to the last 0.2K, and then we got to the, get to the top of the hill and you run down around the corner to the finish line, and Sweet Caroline came on, and the crowd was amazing. We were like dancing to Sweet Caroline. That was I like, that'll be a memory. And like we were saying as well, like how often, if ever again, we'll be able to do an Ironman together.
Yeah, like actually together, because
like that's
don't get us wrong,
isn't it?
We were probably going to race yesterday.
Oh, 100%.
And we were racing during the bike and the swim, and I was like, right, I'm catching her, and then when we get on the run, it'll be interesting. I was thinking actually it'll be really close now, because even if we both run a 3:30 or something, we're going to be right at the end together. Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, we probably won't have that again. So it's nice to have been able to do it, yeah.
Got onto the run, like 5K in. I was like, so what do you want to talk about for the next 3.5, 4 hours? So there was, we chatted. There was some silent points, very silent points.
There's a couple of K we just didn't speak at all, which is fine. Like, it's so weird, isn't it? Like, we were saying it. I said to Laura as well, at least we've seen each other at our absolute worst, because we're just like weeing ourselves.
We were like in the aid stations. I'm like, oh no, don't go yet, I'm just pouring some water myself and weeing. So we like pour water and we're like, yeah, I'm weeing. Wait, don't go. Okay, I'm ready. We just stood there weeing. And then we were running and you were like, I'm doing it. And I was like, what? You're like, I'm weeing.
Yeah, that's Ironman for you, isn't it?
Ironman, that's so funny. That is really, really funny, actually. I forgot about that. But yeah, we see each other at our worst, and I said to him, I was like, do you still love me? He's like, yes. Yeah. Oh, good times.
It's one to remember anyway.
It's one to remember. We crossed the finish line together, and that's really special, because I don't think we'll ever be able to do that again.
No. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good race. I think the 70.3 will be amazing, by the way. Yeah. 1 lap of that course, 1 lap run, 1.5 lap run. Yeah. I think the 70.3 will be amazing. And that's not to say, I think the full, if you get it right, is amazing as well.
It's a challenging course.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think people think it's a flat, fast course. It's definitely not.
We went into the race to try and race it, but it just didn't work out quite like that. But
still raced it.
Like again, bit of perspective here. We just completed an Ironman yesterday on a really challenging course, and that's really fucking cool. The support in town was great. Not so great on the run out, but I was saying that it's really good practice for me for Kona next year, because that's not a supported course as well when you're running out. So like you have to get so comfortable in an Ironman with just being in like your own head and your own thoughts, and
that was
the bike zone. And one more thing, the drafting on that course.
It's the fast people that are doing it.
I didn't get I couldn't have drafted yesterday with how I was feeling. I couldn't even sit on the back of someone's wheel. I was just feeling that shit. But like I was on one side of the road, and this peloton, I'm not joking, about 30 people just flying back in. I was like, you're all fucking cheats.
Yeah, cheaters. The second loop as well, there was absolutely no. I can get the first loop because there was 70.3 people, and at some point you will have to sit behind someone and then move around them. But the second loop, there was absolutely no excuse for drafting, because it was a dual carriageway and no one was there. Like you could see maybe 10 people up the road, and there's no excuses for drafting on that. And there was a few people, there was a lot of people that were doing it.
So anyway, that's our race review. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. We've already had so many amazing messages and people saying they're excited for the race video and the race review. So if you've not watched the actual race video, then go back a video, that will be there. And yeah, that's definitely my final Ironman of the season. Definitely my final Ironman this year. And my final
12 months.
Until Kona, yeah. Look at my tired face. And yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Bye.
Bye.